So hey, what's up guys, Nps Ready here and welcome back another Element 3D tutorial. So I hope this is not gonna be a full tutorial. This will be a tips and tricks video where I will show you some of the basic tips and tricks. So I hope it will solve your problems and give you some tips, right? So the first question is for this episode or this video is what Element 3D can do. So the Element 3D is a third-party plugin that allows actual 3D model to be created from scratch or imported from any other software inside Element 3D, and you can use for motion graphics, VFX, and for also for compositing. The Element 3D workflow is very simple and very easy to understand and learn, and that's why I am doing in this one. If you want to know more about Element 3D, you can just directly go to the Element 3D home site. It's videocopilot.net, and here you can see the Element 3D work and the possibilities and the features you will get, right? And this is super cool. I love it, man. Deform particle noise and a lots of things, right? And even if you want to learn, so there are a lots of tutorial on my channel as well as related to Element 3D, and we will learn and improve your skill. And even if you will search on YouTube, there are tons of Element 3D related tutorial, right? And a good example also here, my friend AMIT just released yesterday a good full CGI animated short with Element 3D, and this is, man, awesome. I love this because he did a great job in this movie. And you can see this movie and you will be amazed how he did, one single man did this whole movie, and this is awesome, man. I love this movie. So I will highly recommend it, go there and check it. And also I will recommend you if you are new here, you can subscribe this channel and press the bell icon, and you can learn more stuff from me. Even you can also follow me on social media, and even you can go to the video copilot and check all this beautiful result. So let's get started the tips and tricks video after this intro. Let's get started with the question number 1. Alright, so the tip number 1 is texture resolution. So whenever you work on a movie or short film or your personal project or a commercial project, so you put an 3D object on your scene, and then you think it's not enough detailing on your object. So in case if you imported a 3D object and you applied a 3D 4K or even 8K texture on that, and you did not see that much of detailing on your model, by default case it's a draft texture checked on, so you just need to uncheck it, draft textures. And the main step what you have to do is zoom in to see closer of your model and go to the file preferences, and here is a map size limit. It is actually the texture size limit, so you have to choose whatever your texture resolution is. So in this case I have something around 4K, so I will choose OK, and now you can see instantly it replace with it's not replace, it just show the original texture size, right? So hit OK. Now the next tip is set anchor point, and I know I am telling you a very simple tips, but believe me, maybe a few of the beginners and maybe few of you also did not know this. Go to the scene setup and just select your model, right? Go to the select and model, and now in this case you can see the anchor point is here. But in some cases if you want to rotate or move or just scale your object from a different position, just like from here or something around here, so what you will have to do, just go to the press here is the camera angle, right? So go to the top view so you can see the top area from the top angle, right? So here is a lock anchor point or axis lock button, so you just need to click here, right? So it will lock your axis point, right? And now you can just move it to wherever you want to apply. So on the top level I just put it here. Now let's go to the left view to make it correct and put it here, right? Let's make a little bit wide to see correctly. So over here, right? Let's go to the perspective mode and now unlock it. So now you can see your anchor point is here. So now your object will move with this anchor point, right? Hit OK. So the tip number 3 is optimize mesh and the drawback faces. So what it's mean, whenever you put any object on your scene, so it will be something like this. Not all things, but something like plane or something along these types of landscape. Even this battery model, I call this battery or generator, whatever I can say it. So when I will go inside this object, it will be also like this, right? So what is the quick way to fix it, right? So let me get a proper angle, right? So go to the scene setup and just select your model, right? So first let me show you how to optimize this model. So right now you can see this is 9,60,000 vertices in this just a simple landscape, right? There are some of detailing obviously, but there is too much. So how you can optimize this mesh? So select your model, right, and go to the optimize mesh. By the way, it is on the surface option. So go to the surface option and check optimize mesh and you will see it. Now it's 1,60,888 now. So in case if you have too much of models in your scene, then this gonna be save your life, right? Now the next problem is this. So let me show you how you can fix it, right? So whenever you create a plane, that time there is an option, right? So let me show you. Here is a plane, two-sided plane. So now you can see from above and from below both sides. But when you load your model, that time there is no option for two-sided plane. So what will you do, right? Select your material and go to the advanced option, and here is the option for drawback faces, right? So just check in and instantly you will see, right, and your problem fixed even out of the surface scene setup, right? So now the next tip is tip number 4 is infinite surface. So in some cases you will have to create a surface which is infinite, right? So what will you do? Just go to the scene setup, right, and first load your model in a group number 1 and the group number 2. Let's create a plane, right? So now you can see this is a plane, right? You can see, let me make a black one, right? So you can see this is a plane, right? So create a plane and make sure the size is a little bit bigger. So the size, it's depend on how much area you want to cover, right? So select this model and just select this material and go to the advanced section again, and here is your option for matte shadow. Just check on and you are good to go, right? So the tip number 5 is remove ambient occlusion and shadow from unwanted object, right? It's mean whenever you try to create a glowing object, you don't want a ambient occlusion and the shadow from that thing, right? So in this case you can see this glowing mercury object is also casting ambient occlusion and showing the area, right? So I don't want, right, actually. So go to the element 3D layer, go to the scene setup and just select your model of the light, right, and go to the advanced section again, and here is the option for invisible to AO and the glow, right. So just check on and you will see the problem is gone, right. And one more quick tip is for you guys is give like and put your comments, because your comments and your likes motivates me to make tutorials videos on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe this channel. So the tip number 6 is light up glowing part, right. So in this case, whenever you make your scene, go to the scene setup again. So you make and prepare a scene just like this, right, and now you want to glow this glowing part, right. So what you will do, just duplicate your element 3D object, right, and go to the output section, and here is the option for illumination. So change the show composite to the illumination. It extracts the glowing part from the whole scene and a whole object, right. And now we have a data, so you can see now we have a data of the only glowing part, right. So what we will do, we will just apply a glow effect on top of that, and we can just play with the glow. It's depend how you create that glow, right. Let's create one more copy and let's create a one more exposure, right. Put this exposure top of just below the element 3D layer, and now just comma at 2.2, right, and you can increase the exposure if you want like this or something little bit down, right, and change the blending mode to the additive. So now you can see this is before and this is after, right. So I hope it makes sense and give you the correct knowledge for creating the glowing object, right. So now the next tip is for quickly get glossy surface just like this, right. So whenever you create a plane, right, and you apply a material on that thing, right, and then you realize and then you think you want a glossy surface, right. So what will you do, let me show you. Go to the scene setup. So by default, let me show you the metal one. So this is the by default, right. So how you can optimize and make it more glossy, right. So select your material, and here is a option for texturing. So actually this material is controlling over this diffuse glossiness and reflectivity and all over this maps, right. So go to the glossiness and turn it down, so you will see it's reflecting, right. So you can go even more, right, looking good. But you can also play inside with the texture. Here is few of the control endochroma gives us. It's very good for controlling the texture, right. So you can see on the live viewer, and here is I am also playing with the texture, right. You can see, so it is a control to the texture, which area you want reflection or not, right. Even you can invert this texture also, right. It also gives you a good feel to make like this, and you can just simply go to the reflection mode and change it to mirror surface to see it, because by default it's like this, right. So change the reflection mode to the mirror surface to get the reflection of your object as well as. So hit OK, right. Control S to save it. So the next tip is matte shadow and the matte reflection, right. So go to the element 3D, go to the scene setup, and now you can see here I just apply a plane and apply a material and make them reflective, right. So now I want to cast some ambient occlusion like a matte shadow and the matte reflection with alpha, right, because I don't want all this plane. I just only want to cast this area of reflection, right? So select the material and go to the advanced section, and here is the option for matte shadow, right? So matte shadow is remove the plane, but it will be here and just catch the shadow and catch the ambient occlusion from the above object, right? Matte reflection is also the same, but it's only catch the reflection, right? You can see. So now here you can see, if I unsolo it and insolo this one, so the background is here. So let me change the color to something around this. So now you can see this is catching the reflection. So the tip number 9 is realistic glow and realistic reflection. So now you can see this is the realistic glow. I already told you how to create this glow, realistic glow, but I did not tell you how you can create the realistic reflection as well as, right? So just select your plane, right? Here is a plane. I just apply a matte shadow effect, just like I told you, right? So just select that and go to the advanced section, and here is the option for matte reflection. You can check that, apply this and mirror surface, and now I can just check to the matte shadow and the matte reflection, both things at the same time. And if you apply a grunge material, it will also looks good, right? Here you can see, but it's looking flat reflection, right? So how you can make the reflection even more cool? So go to the metal and apply any material, right? Now let's remove unwanted and select the material and just little bit correct it like this, right? You can see, and again go to the advanced section and matte shadow and the matte reflection on and hit OK. So now you can see it is casting shadow and the reflection at the same time, and this both are looks real, alright? Even if you want, you can just go to the scene setup again and make it little bit more reflective, like this, and hit OK, right? So I love this. Now the tip number 10 is opacity control, right? So here is just a simple animation. I did it. So here you can see the opacity 100%, and what is mean the tip number 10 is opacity control. So whenever you have a too much of object animating and you want to control over the opacity, it's mean you want to control a specific object opacity. What you will do, go to the Element 3D scene setup, and here you can see I just put two objects in the same group, right? But you can see one is 0% opacity, and when I want I just enable the opacity, but the second one is always visible, right? So in some cases if you need that things, what will you do? So select your opacity model, right? You can just rename it to make it clear, but I am taking with the material, right? So select this 100% opacity option and go to the auxiliary animation and put in a channel number 2, and this one is a channel number 1, right? So now I have a control with the auxiliary system. So let me go to the open auxiliary system. So this is a channel number 2, right? So every auxiliary channel has a own position, rotation, scale and opacity, and even UV offset options. So you can control these things within a same group. So right now you can see there is a 10 auxiliary channel. So now it's mean you can control 10 different things in a same group, right? Position, rotation, scale, opacity and texture as well as. So in this one I just key on the texture, I key on the text 100%, and this animation happens, right? So the 10 tips is finished, and one tips also is the texture control out of setup. It's mean what will you do when you finished your scene inside Element 3D scene setup and you want to control few things over the scene setup, right? So you don't want to go inside the scene setup and you want to control few things over here, right? So here is the option output, and here's a multi-pass mixture. So by default it's everything is set to the 1 1 1 and 1, right? So if you want to increase the diffuse, you can just put it to, right? You can see it's reacting, right? Put 1. Specular, if you want to make it high just like 14, you can just do it. By default it's 1. Embed like a lighting, you can just play with. Reflectivity, if you don't think it's enough reflection in your scene, you can just boost reflection from here, that's like 12. But make sure whenever you will boost anything from here, it will reflect all over your object. It will not applied on just on this car, it will also applied on this floor and this all over things, right? So you can do according to that, right? So by default it's 1, so I'm going to put 1.5 actually, right? Illumination, if your scene has some of the glow, you can also control the glow from here. If you want to cast shadow and make the shadow darker, you can just play with the shadow. And if you have subsurface scattering, you can also play with the subsurface scattering here. Alright, so I hope these 11 tips make your render fast or help you to get rid of some problems. And if you stuck, I know this is a very small and very basic tips, but I think it's help you. Alright, so please leave a comment which tips you love most, which tips is good for you, and I hope this video helps you a lot. And please like, share, comment, subscribe this channel, because your comments, your likes motivate me always to make tutorials. And if you have any more suggestion for tutorial, you can also put the link or just put your question, and I will try to solve it and try to get the idea from there, and I will try to make the tutorial. I have also few of the concept to making tutorial, and everything is on the row, and I will put one by one. So let me summarize one by one. So there is a texture problem. You can go to the preference and set the texture size whatever you want, 1K, 2K, 4K, 8K. The set anchor point, you can just lock the axis control and you can just move the position. Tip number 3, optimize model. So check on the optimize mesh, it will be on the surface option, and you can just go to the advanced section and make the drawback faces to get rid of this below surface if you want to see it, right? Infinity surface, just select your plane and just go to the advanced section and make it to the matte shadow. Remove AO and the shadow, so you can just select the plane of your glowing part and just go to the ignore AO and shadow, something like the invisible to AO and the glow. And this light of glowing part is, you can just select element 3D and just duplicate it and make the illumination separate layer, and you can apply a glow exposure and bright out the glowing part. And this is for the realistic reflection and realistic glow. The glow is work the same as realistic reflection, just make your plane to glossy and make it to the mirror surface, and it will be looks good, right? Quickly get glossy surface, just select your material and play with texture glossiness, and it will be reflective, right? And it will be glossy actually. And check the reflection mode and make it to the reflective. Matte and the matte reflection, I already told you. And opacity control, I already told you. You can just set both things in a separate auxiliary channel, and you can control position, rotation, scale, opacity, and even UV mapping, UV offset values with the auxiliary channel. And tip number 11 is texture control out of setup. Actually, you can just go to the diffuse output and just multipass mixer and you can play with that. So I hope it's give you some basic knowledge about element 3D, and you can be on my channel to see a lots of recently I posted a few of the uh, good tutorial where you can just increase your knowledge about element 3D. And I am also learning cinema 4D, and I know the future of 3D, and I know what's coming on element 3D version 3. It's mean I don't know about the future. I know it gonna be fun and it gonna be epic, right? So that's it for now. I am MPS City. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your love, and we will be online just like this. So just motivate me, and that's it for now. We will see you next time with a great tutorial. That's it for now. Goodbye.